Hey, Guy Powell here with the backstory on the Shroud of Turin. And today we're doing a series of interviews to promote the upcoming Shroud of Turin conference in St. Louis, and it'll be taking place at the end of July through August 3rd. And today we're speaking with Russ Breault. He is a longtime researcher and speaker and presenter on the Shroud, and he will also be presenting and speaking at the Shroud. So let's dive right in. Welcome, Russ. So what first drove you into studying the Shroud?
Well, first of all, Guy, it's nice to be back with you. And, well, it's one of those things about being in the right place at the right time. And this was a long time ago. I'm not even sure if it was this lifetime, but I was back in college in 1980, if you can imagine that. And you had a whole team of scientists go over to Turin in 1978, 33 American scientists to study an artifact that purported to be the burial shroud of Jesus. And that was big news. It was news coming out about it all the time. And in that, National Geographic, they did a big spread on it in June of 80. So I was a writer for the college newspaper, and I asked if I could write some articles about it. And I was very intrigued, and they gave me the green light to do that. And so I spent a lot of time researching it, and I called some of the scientists to get some quotes. And by the time the articles came out, it was a two-part article series that came out in the fall of 80. I was hooked. I was just, man, this is one seriously cool mystery, and nobody knows anything about it. And that's what I've been hooked ever since.
Yeah, wow. So true. I remember reading about it as well, but I didn't get, I was only reading about it, and I go, wow, that's pretty cool. And yeah, fascinating. So what are you going to be speaking about at the conference?
Well, I'm going to do a presentation called Seven Secrets of the Sacred Shroud. And it's going to be dealing with some very intriguing aspects of it that aren't usually covered in most general presentations. It's interestingly, we're going to focus on John Calvin's famous objection. Is basically a loose paraphrase would be, that you'd think something as significant as of Jesus leaving his image on his burial shroud that would warrant a mention somewhere in the Gospels, and it's a reasonable objection, and it's an objection that still is often heard even to this day, but it's an objection that is easily answered, and it's might be some folks that want to hear what those answers are, and I think they're in fact, and one of the secrets is a in-your-face obvious reference to the shroud, but remember how Jesus spoke in parables? Well, this is a visual parable, and it's about as strong as you can get without setting off a search and destroy mission on the part of the Jews or the Romans to find it and destroy it. So that's the people had to be careful back then, and lots of persecution going on, and so we're gonna cover some of that, and then there's another intriguing clue as to the age and the place of origin of the shroud. That's another thing that's just kind of staring you in the face, and it has to do with the pattern of water stains that's on the cloth. Where do those water stains come from, and how and when do they originate? And we always thought it was from the fire. It's not from the fire. And so where did they come from, and what does it tell us about the age and the origin of the shroud? That's going to be real interesting.
Yeah, that's those are some great teases, and definitely don't want to give the answer away.
No. You got to come to the lecture.
Come.
St. Louis, July 30th. You got to be there.
Get your tickets now, on sale now, shroud2025conference.com. One thing that, though, is really, I don't know if it's curious or whatever, but especially for Protestants, a lot of Protestants would say, well, my faith is strong enough. What do I need a relic for? Why do I need this shroud and learn more about that? I'm already a strong Christian. How do you respond to that?
Yeah, I find that objection to be a little, let me just say, I find it bothersome in the point that it's like, because I have people come up to me all the time and say, well, I don't need the shroud for my faith. And my answer is, well, that's great, but that doesn't mean it wasn't meant for somebody else. I mean, Thomas is this perfect picture of a person. He had every reason to believe that Jesus had risen from the dead. He'd been walking with Jesus for 3 years. He knew that tomb was empty, and in spite of the testimony of all of his friends who testified that Jesus had appeared in the upper room. Remember, Thomas wasn't there the first time Jesus showed up, and so Thomas says, classically says, no, I won't believe, not until I thrust my hand into his side and place my fingers into his nail wounds. And a week later, Jesus shows up, and then Thomas is there, and so finally, once he's confronted with the evidence of Jesus standing in front of him, he believes. In fact, he makes the strongest profession of faith in the entire New Testament. He says, "My Lord and my God," but he couldn't do it, wouldn't do it, was unable to do it until he was face to face with the resurrected Christ. That's the message of the shroud. That's why it exists, in my opinion, because there are thousands, millions of people in the world that are standing on the sidelines, that are standing on the fence. What's going to push him over? And it's one of the things people will say for our Protestant friend, well, God wouldn't do it that way. Well, how do you know? I mean, Jesus says, blessed are those who believe and have not seen. That's true. But he did not condemn Thomas for his unbelief. He pronounced a blessing on those who are able to believe without the use of evidence. But that doesn't mean that evidence is forbidden. I mean, so I think the shroud is there for all the doubting Thomases of the world. And that would be my answer.
Yeah, and that's great. And I mean, that verse, "Blessed are those that have not seen and yet believe." That right there, that's us. That is us.
Right,
We have
right.
not seen, and yet we believe. And certainly, the shroud can certain strengthen our faith, and also potentially, help us to bring others that are on the fence or haven't even gotten to the fence yet, but bring them over. So
That's right.
that's a great point. So how has the shroud affected your faith?
Well, it certainly has made me contemplate the price that was paid. I mean, the scripture is so often understated. It says, while we were yet sinners, Christ died for us. You could add a lot to that, Christ died for us. Really, this immense ordeal of crucifixion. Now, Philippians gets a little closer to it that he died even by crucifixion. But even that doesn't get it. When we understand how he was brutalized, the crown of thorn, over 30 puncture wounds around the head, over 120 scourge marks on the body where he was whipped brutally, and then the clear nail wounds in the wrist and the feet. When we contemplate the shroud, when we look at it, we're confronted with the brutality of the crucifixion. And one thing that's really has impressed upon me lately is the fact that, again, that verse, while we were yet sinners, open that word up. What's in that word sinners? Oh boy, there's a lot of nasty stuff inside that word sinners. I mean, from pedophiles and God only knows, remember that metaphorical cup in the Garden of Gethsemane. Father, if it be thy will, let this cup pass from me. If that cup was filled with the sins of mankind, you couldn't be in the same house with it. You couldn't, there was the actual absolute stench that would come from that cup. And yet that's the cup Jesus had to drink. And the significance of it is that if he didn't drink that cup, if Jesus didn't endure as much as he did, then we would have no hope of salvation. It's, again, the severity of the crucifixion was necessary because of the depth of man's sin. And which is a wonderful for us, because that means that no matter what you've done, it doesn't matter as grievous a sin as you might have committed, the message of the cross is that Jesus has paid it all. And when you look at that crucified body as seen on the Shroud of Turin, that's why he was so brutalized, because he paid for everything. And so, and because of that, there's not a sin that he can't forgive. And that's good news for a lot of people who feel that they can't come to God because I did this and I did that and I did this. And it's like, it doesn't matter. It's all been paid for. And that's what we see on the shroud.
Yeah, so true. And early in your comments, one thing that I find too is when you read the words at the end of the four gospels about the crucifixion, you read the words and certainly the words are powerful, but to me, it's nothing compared to when you look at that shroud and you contemplate and you see the 30 blood wounds from the crown of thorns, and you see the wounds and you see the blood coming down the arms, and you see the blood coming out of the feet from the wounds and all the scourge marks. And it really makes those four gospels, those passages about the crucifixion, that makes them really stand out. And then I think that strengthens your faith so much.
Yeah. I mean, a lot of Protestants will say, well, he's not on the cross anymore. Yeah, well, the Apostle Paul, all through his entire missionary journeys, said he preached Christ crucified. And it's he wasn't on the cross for Paul either. He had already resurrected. So we have to, it is a two-part message, and that's the beauty of the shroud. You have a whole pattern of bloodstains that speaks to the death of Jesus through crucifixion. Then you have this inexplicable image, which is proof of life. Not just any kind of life, resurrection life. And so it's incredible. It's all there on one document.
Yeah, absolutely. Well, let's leave it at that. Thank you for that perspective and what we're going to see at the Shroud Conference, which you can find out more information at shroud2025conference.com. Russ, thank you so much. I'm definitely looking forward to hearing your talk, and we'll see you there. It's been a while.
Absolutely. See you there, Guy.
All right. Thank you.